Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is CinemAddicts.
Hey everyone, what's up? It's another episode of CinemAddicts. This is episode number 197. We have a lot of things to do. I look at the intro right now. It says announce Patreon pick and poll. We're going to get to that in a second. The year is 1999. Bruce and Eric will be talking about that. There's a new thing called CinemAddicts Plus, which I'm getting the kinks done, and it's a sort of a subscription service. It's only 99 cents per month. If you download us on Apple Podcasts, that's a way for you for 99 cents a month or only $10 a year. First month is free. It's a great way to support all three of us. Actually, all four of us. Anderson will always get a cut from CinemAddicts. It'll be a great way for to support all four of us for CinemAddicts Plus. I'll talk more about it next week, but it's right now up. If you download us on Apple Podcasts and you see a little advertisement that says 99 cents, click it. Support us, because you know what? You're going to get our bonus episode of CinemAddicts every month that we put out for Patreon, video and audio we put out for Patreon, but we're going to give you guys, for the CinemAddicts Plus members on Apple Podcasts, for 99 cents a month. You're going to get that bonus episode. But again, the first month you can try for free. So it's good. Well, Eric Holmes, co-host, does that sound like a good deal? CinemAddicts Plus? What do you think?
Yes.
Okay. You paint something else? What did you say?
Or I forget.
$1.99. You're just jacking up the price. It's only 99 cents per month.
99 cents. Well, that's like half price. That's half off.
Definitely almost half off, like maybe 51% off. So that is like 99. So we're going to get to the CinemAddicts Plus maybe a little bit more next week. But again, for a lot of you, download our podcast via Apple Podcasts. So check it out. Click on it. Check it out for the first month. See what you think. I'm also joined along with Eric Holmes with Bruce Perky. He's going to be covering a lot of movies with Eric Holmes. He's going to talk about the 1999 Patreon stuff right now.
Go ahead.
What do you want to say about the Patreon, Bruce?
So I was tasked with coming up with one of the two movies from 1999, because the way we're going to start doing it at this point, we don't know if it'll stay this way, but we think this is a good way to go about it, is every month that we will have one of us rotate and pick a movie from the given year. This time it's going to be mine for 1999. And then the other pick for that year will come from our Patreon listeners. We are going to put a poll up, this week? And then for the next couple weeks, is that right? 2 weeks there, Greg? We're going to do...
Here's the thing. Mitch Burns is doing all our work for us. He is our new Patreon member. Mitch Burns from the Hollywood Persona and the Film Vaulters, a fellow podcaster, a fellow brothers in arms, or arms. Mitch Burns, thank you for joining us on Patreon. He's actually come up with a list of, I think, 20 movies from 1999 that he hasn't seen. I think one of them is Magnolia. So we're going to put up a bunch of polls from all our socials, from our Twitter, from our Instagram. And within about a week, hopefully we'll have about 50 to 70 movies to pick from 1999. The voting will not go to our people in our Facebook group, not to people in our Twitter or Instagram. The final vote, the voters will be on our Patreon feed. I think there's about 38 or 39 of them, including Mitch Burns and Peter Beta and Grant Boss and a whole bunch of people, Diana Vandekamp. We love our patrons over at CinemAddicts. But who knows? Maybe in about a month and a half or a month, we'll open it up to different people as well. But for now, the first vote for 1999, there's going to be one movie. We're going to put a vote to it in about a couple of weeks, and hopefully there will be some patron participation for 1999. But to answer your question, Bruce, I think we should have the poll done by possibly next week for 1999. Thanks to Mitch Burns, you have about 20 picks for 1999. It's up for discussion with the other movies that we should vote for. And you guys, Bruce and Eric, you guys are going to fish on our Cinemax Facebook group and get some members to pick some 1999 films. Yeah, so that's that. It's going to be interesting. We're going to build up our CinemAddicts Patreon community. We're going to build up our CinemAddicts Plus community. And Greg Trzavosky is going to leave the show right now, and I'm going to hand it over the reins to Eric Holmes and Bruce Perky. This is going to be a twosome for most of it. What do you think, Eric? You think you can do it? You're going to be okay with you and Bruce? T for
yes.
two for T, for that?
Greg,
yes.
Do we need to send
No.
Do we need to send someone over to help you out? Because is this a weird way of saying someone's in the house, they're trying to kill me?
Okay.
Blink once if you're safe.
Blink.
Blink twice if this is legit.
Candyman. I'm not gonna say Candyman a third time. That's what I'm gonna say. There's gonna be movies that Bruce and Eric are gonna cover. The Lesson, Dead Man's Hand. Dead Man's Hand is dead because I'm not gonna be around for the podcast. I'll talk to you guys later about Dead Man's Hand. There's gonna be a film called The Tank. It's on digital DVD and Blu-ray this week from Wellgo USA Entertainment. Thank you, Wellgo USA Entertainment, for continuing to supply us with product to supply our Cinematics universe members and people out there who are into Blu-rays and DVDs. Thank you, Wellgo USA Entertainment. I hope to goodness that either Bruce and Eric enjoy The Tank, because if none of them enjoy The Tank, we might as well tank our relationship with Wellgo USA Entertainment. Hashtag Greg's a sellout. I'm kidding. Biosphere is also a movie that, I wish I got to review that with Eric and Bruce. Yeah, that's going to be a movie that I wonder what they're thinking about it. I'm going to check in and out around the episode now and again. So you're going to I don't know, I might show up, I might not. I'll put on the headphones, but I'm checking. There are people around the house right now, and I want to make sure everything's all good and safe. Okay. So anything, final thoughts before you, Eric and Bruce and Eric, before you take over the show? Done anything before final things?
Two things. One is my pick for 1999. We didn't mention the pick that I have is, it was going to be Audition. And I thought, I don't want to do that to anybody. Anybody who doesn't want to watch Audition doesn't have to watch Audition.
To anyone. I think you mean for anyone.
So instead, I picked something I haven't seen, and I've heard it's great, and I like all the people involved, and that is something that doesn't seem like my kind of movie, but we will be watching Notting Hill. So
Notting Hill is Bruce's choice. Wow, that's interesting. It's interesting because he didn't want to go niche. He was really focused on not picking Audition because that would have been a Bruce Perky pick. He wanted to go sort of a Commonwealth pick, which is Notting Hill, a film, by the way. Bruce Perky, I would just say right now, out of all the movies in the world that were ever made, Notting Hill is the movie that I have seen the most. I've seen it probably about 10 or 15 times. Bruce Perky, you had me at hello. I'm just an Asian. I'm just a 51-year-old Asian podcaster sitting here waiting for a 50-something fellow podcaster to love me. You don't know what that means because that's a reference to Notting Hill, and I hope you like Chagall. That's all I'm going to say. Tell us what you think of Notting Hill, and I don't know. Have you seen Notting Hill, Eric Holmes?
I have not, and I'm hoping I will not be nodding off while watching.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so we're off. I'm off right now. I might be checking in and out, and that's what she said. I'm going to hide myself right now. Enjoy the Cinematics episode with Bruce Perky and Eric Holmes and the spirit of Anderson Cowan. He's somewhere around here. I'll be right back. I'm going to hide myself on self-view. You guys go at it.
All right. Well, I guess the movies we got here are The Lessons, The Tank, Biosphere. As we could read Dead Man's Hand real quick. Neither one of us has seen it, but it comes out July 7th on demand and digital, and DVD August 22nd. I'll just read the thing Greg has here real quick. Gunslinger Reno is headed west for a quiet life with his new bride. But when their stagecoach is ambushed, he kills an outlaw in self-defense. In a nearby town, Reno learns that a man that he slayed is the brother of a corrupt Mayor Bishop, played by Stephen Dorff from Blade and other, who vows revenge. After their card game turns into a bloody shootout, who will be left standing? Cole Hauser from Yellowstone appears as a U.S. Marshal who becomes Reno's ally in this pulse-pounding Western. Greg Serzvasti gives it 4 stars. But
I do not give it 4 stars at all.
He's still here. I thought he was leaving.
I told you guys not to actually cover Dead Man's Hand. That's hilarious. 4.5
I was going to say what it is.
Yeah, it's coming out July 7th on demand and digital. So if you want to check it out, there it is.
It's so funny.
Look, if you leave the kids alone in the house, what's going to happen the minute you leave? We are going to start a party. That's just how it's going to happen.
Well, yeah. What did you say, Eric? I'm sorry. You were plugging it. When is it open?
It comes out July 7th on demand and digital. By the time you hear this, it should be out now. And on DVD August 22nd. But we're not going to talk about that because neither Bruce nor I has seen it. And
I'm hiding myself again. And I'm gone right now. I'll be back later. Okay, see you guys.
So I
think we should call him Mr. McFeely. It's like it's just like that, it's like it just shows up to Mr. Rogers' neighborhood and just delivers some quips and then he's out.
Oh goodness. All right, so we have The Lesson, we have The Tank, and we have Biosphere. All 3 of which both you and I have Bruce and I have both seen. Bruce, what should we start with, do you think?
I think we should start with, let's start with the tank that we got. Well, you didn't get it, but I got a Blu-ray. So when we talk about the tank at the very end, I can bring up the features and whatnot that is with the actual physical media version of the tank.
Yeah, let's do that. You want to set up the tank or shall I?
Go ahead. You're on the setup mode. Set up the tank really quick.
Okay, the tank is now on digital DVD Blu-ray from Wellgo USA Entertainment. And that's all Greg wrote here. But basically, it's the husband and wife and their kid. They buy a piece of property or land that they move into this piece of property or land, and there's a like a water well or a tank, air quote tank, in the background or in the backyard. There's trouble afoot when they go exploring the tank. After about, I'd say, the half-hour mark, it starts to become a horror kind of creature feature thing. Not unlike Unwelcome. In fact, the house that they were in, that had that little hobbit door around like all the grass. It kind of had Unwelcome vibes. This isn't quite as fun because there's no red caps or gremlins that pop up, but as a creature feature, I didn't hate this one too much. This was kind of like right down the middle. Like, hey, I want to go to a movie theater and watch a silly horror movie. This will probably scratch that itch. What do you think, Bruce?
Yeah, I think so. First of all, I think one thing that was interesting about this movie, in a way, was that I found it to be kind of a real throwback sort of a horror movie. Like, this didn't even try to be modern style horror movie. It was fine having that slow burn. It was fine giving you this basic setup that you kind of understand. And it was supposed to be a period piece too, right? It's supposed to take place in like 79, I think.
Yeah, 79, 78, somewhere around there.
So, I mean, if you kind of like that kind of movie, you're going to feel probably really comforted by that, because it's just what you're used to seeing as far as family goes out to inherited house. This could easily be a haunted house movie, right? Inherited house. They get there. They don't know why it's there. How they got it. It's been a mystery. They knew nothing about it. And then slowly strange things start to happen. In this case, monstery things start to happen. And the fact that they have this giant water tank that basically is under the entire house is odd, but apparently, I guess it's a thing. I lived in Oregon for a while, but I never saw that before. So I guess to me, and I'll see what you think about this, but this movie kind of lives or dies on how much you like the monster, because you're kind of waiting the whole time, like, okay, let's get to the monster. Where's the monster at? Because the family's just a family. They're fine. They don't do anything too special, good or bad. And there's some definite expositionary moments. They find a diary, which I have to say, a funny thing about the diary. They find a diary that tells a story of things that happened there and kind of increases the mystery. I guess on the plus side, I loved the fact that I think all of the monster effects are practical. Didn't look like there's, or maybe very little CGI. It looked like it was mostly an actual rubber monster.
Well, there's parts where it like opens its mouth or something, maybe.
Yeah.
Like if there's CGI, it's like probably touch up stuff, I imagine.
Yeah, it might be enhancing it or making it a little more, like giving it more like fleshy motion, I guess I'll say. Because the inside of the mouth kind of rumbles.
The glottal undulations.
There you go. Overall, this didn't blow me away. You talk about Unwelcome, which was also on, I think, Wellgo. Unwelcome was, like you said, similar. Like, it took a while to get to the monsters, but the monsters were so cool when they got there that you could almost forgive everything else if you weren't in the first half. I like the first half of that one more than you did, but I really loved the monsters. In this one, the monster was fine. It didn't blow me away or anything.
I think what really threw me off on this one was the opening 20, 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. It was stuff that could have been cut. It's like, let's just get to the horror stuff. Because look, if you're gonna have like the family story, you need to kind of make it interesting. This just wasn't doing that for me. At least with Unwelcome, like I didn't like I like the opening scene, the straw dogs-esque scene at the beginning, but the whole movie I'm just like, I'm not loving the husband character, and I just wanted to die. But that's kind of what the movie was going for. That was the point. That's the thing that we're talking about. And this, it's just like families doing family stuff, and let's just get to it. There's nothing interesting happening. It's got that opening to hook you. And then it does the thing where it goes back and, okay, now we got to do the boring stuff that we have to do. Here's a hint. You don't have to do it. We've
Right.
seen movies before. We get it. Just jump right to, you don't have to jump right to the monster, but get to the point a lot quicker,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, and the whole, like you said, because like the opening stuff, I know why it's there. For example, they show her working in a pet store and all this stuff. So she knows about like amphibious stuff, right? They're trying to give us reasons that she'll know about the monster when you kind of come across it. But the whole point is this movie is not afraid to give us straight up exposition when they need to.
Yeah.
So like you said, there's no reason they couldn't literally, this movie couldn't start with them just driving up to the house.
Yeah.
And saying to each other like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe your family had a house we knew nothing about. This is crazy. We just inherited it." Something like that.
Or they go to the house.
Yeah.
They I mean, this is me rewriting it, but they go to the house. The daughter finds a little, "Hey, mom, look, the frog's sick. Oh no, this is what you got to do." Blah blah blah.
Alligator. Yeah.
we get it. She knows how to deal with amphibians. She's a veterinarian or whatever, but she knows. And that's one scene. And you're off to the races. You don't need that opening 25 minutes to get us there. But overall, like, and even when it gets to the horror stuff, there's a lot of stupid stuff in here. But this is kind of like a movie where I kind of forgive it. Once it gets into that mode, it's like, I know what time it is. I know what kind of movie this is now. And I'm just kind of kicking back and watching it. I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I'm going to same boat. I mean, this is one of those movies. We talk about movies that are party movies. I wouldn't say this is a party movie, but this is definitely a movie like, hey, it's on. I'm just hanging out, chill evening. I would enjoy watching this movie. I wouldn't feel angry at it. You know what I mean? And I kind of like monster movies, and I especially like old school monster movies. So to see something that's a little bit of a throwback, I appreciate that. So yeah. So what would you grade it?
I think, well, real quick, I think there's one scene in particular that kind of encapsulates what the monster portion of this is, oh no, the thing's outside. Get to the car. We can't go upstairs. I'll go downstairs to a 15-minute and crawl through the tank for 15 minutes and do this because there's no time to get to a car. It's like
there's no, no, you're right. You're right.
The plotting there is just completely ridiculous. But I mean, that's kind of the stuff. If that's the kind of thing that you can watch in a horror movie and go, yeah, okay, it's stupid, but this is what makes the movie go, I'm fine with it, then you'll be all right.
Yes. This is definitely if you can't forgive it, then you will hate it. And I sometimes have that problem with movies, and sometimes I don't. I think when a movie like this kind of knows what it is, I don't usually have a problem with it. And I was going to mention one other thing that was kind of similar to that I thought was preposterous, but I loved it, was at one point they are reading the diary. And of course, the diary is there to tell you what happened or to give you a clue like, oh, what's going to happen? Because obviously this happened before and it got in the diary. And at one point, literally in the diary, it says run. And I was like, wait, you don't write in a diary to tell somebody to run 30 years in the future.
And if you're writing it and it's that,
you don't have time to run. Right,
yeah, you don't have, I have just enough time to write this before I do it because it's,
And I kind of like that. I almost wish it could have leaned into that kind of stuff a little bit more. And almost, I mean, the monster looks kind of goofy, but I didn't really mind it. And I kind of wish, I feel like, and we can go to the next movie in a minute, rate this and go. But I feel like this kind of movie, like they make their monster, but they don't 100% believe in it because it's kind of a hokey monster. But you almost have to believe in it and let it be its thing and just go with it and have fun with it because. Yeah. If you're going to also kind of not really show it 100% and kind of not, commit to it, then you're not giving us everything you could, is what I think. So
yeah, and the ending, the fight with the mom and the monster was kind of that. I like that. I mean, there's stuff to like in this, but also this is going to be one of those movies that. Some of you will watch and go, why did you make me watch this? This is so stupid.
Yeah.
it is dumb. It is stupid, but it's also kind of fun. And I had a good time with it. I'd probably this wouldn't quite be a 3-star banger, but it's definitely 3 stars, a mild recommend, I think.
Exactly what I was going to rate it, just 3 stars. And I couldn't call it a 3-star banger either, but for the same exact reasons. This is one of those movies like, if you kind of like this sort of movie, and if you do, you'll be okay with it. And if you don't, then you won't.
This would actually be a movie I would like to see Jack Fitzpatrick review. Because it seems like this might be up his alley. I don't know if he'll probably watch and go, what the hell are you guys talking about? I hate this movie.
He might.
Maybe he'll watch it and he'll love it. I don't know. But this seems like a movie more up his alley than ours. But I still enjoyed it for kind of what it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So we agree totally on that. 3 stars. Last little thing I'll just mention on the Blu-ray itself. The Blu-ray looks good, and I'm always happy to see, especially when a lower budget movie like this gets a Blu-ray, which is pretty rare.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I appreciate about Wellgo versus like Shudder. I appreciate that Shudder will release a lot of its stuff on DVD, which is great, but it only releases its stuff on DVD. At least it's out there. Kudos, but I like the fact that Wellgo puts them on Blu-ray usually. And there are a couple little things in here, not much features. It just has a little making of the monster thing, and you do get to see that it is mostly a real rubber monster and how they, it's a person in a suit and how they have a head and they made it and all that stuff, which is cool. And then there's a little featurette just about the movie in general. So it really is the making of the monster stuff, which is the best. And once again, I could have used more of that. I understand why they don't go too crazy on it, but it's kind of cool. If you watch the movie and you dug it, you'd be interested in seeing the monster itself a little bit more. So that's in here.
What are all the features on there? Because I noticed like when DVD came out, that they had the movie and then they had like a whole like slew of features. And then when Blu-ray came out, it's like, well, we can't put features on DVDs. There's not enough space. I'm like, you literally used to have hours of it. Now you just don't do it. But then
exactly.
And then when 4Ks came out, I noticed they stopped doing that on Blu-rays as well. Are there any?
There isn't not much on here. It's just bonus features include they call it a look into the tank, which is just like a short little featurette about the making of the movie, probably maybe 7-8 minutes, and then there's a little making of the creature and a trailer. That's it. So not much. But I agree. I remember when I first was getting DVDs, you get like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but like 3 commentaries and all this behind the scenes footage and photos and all this stuff. So
well, that's The Tank. Now out on digital DVD and Blu-ray from Wellgo USA Entertainment. And next two we have is The Lesson and Biosphere. I kind of want to save Biosphere for last because not to show my hand, but kind of saving the best for last. What are your kind of thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm kind of equal on The Lesson and Biosphere. So you can pick whichever one you want. I'm good either way.
All right, well, let's go with The Lesson. In theaters July 7th. Liam, played by Daryl McCormick, an aspiring and ambitious young writer, eagerly accepts a tutoring position at the family estate of his idol, renowned author J.M. Sinclair, played by Academy Award nominee Richard E. Grant. But soon, Liam realizes that he's ensnared in a web of family secrets, resentment, and retribution. Sinclair, his wife Helene, played by Academy Award winner nominee Julie Delpy, and their son Bertie, Stephen McMillan, all around a dark past, one that threatens Liam's future as well as their own. As the lines between master and protege blur, class, ambition, and betrayal become a dangerous combination in this taut noir thriller. That was not the movie I saw.
Yeah. Well, you go first. What do you think of it?
So there's some stuff that kind of bugged me about The Lesson, but as the movie went along, the stuff that bugged me about it, I think was kind of the point. And this goes back to what we were talking about with Unwelcome. The main guy, the husband, was like just a complete coward and annoying, but that was the point of the movie. This, the author James Sinclair, Richard E. Grant's character, actually all the characters in this, the way they approach art and writing, they're so far up their own butts that I was kind of like, oh, I'll never be a writer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know Tolstoy the way you know Tolstoy. He'll never be a writer. I'm like, that's not how you do it, but whatever. And then come to find out that I think this movie was kind of more of an indictment on stuff like that. And I kind of went back and forth between. I couldn't tell if the movie was saying, hey, that's the way you appreciate art, or if it's an indictment on people that treat art that way, kind of put up roadblocks or barriers.
Yeah. So I guess we should say, so you kind of mentioned it in the walk-in on it. I kind of saw it as, so you saw Tar, right?
No.
Okay. Well, it's hard to describe if you haven't seen Tar, but Tar is about someone that's really like uppity about their art and like very, very influential and powerful, and kind of how they abuse people around them based on their kind of notoriety and being the expert or the best in their field or that kind of a thing. Right. And this movie, I feel like it isn't even as heady as you made it, like you were kind of seeing it to be. I think that it has all those trappings that you're talking about, like these annoying, pompous artists, writers, and they're all just abusing each other in various ways and like talking down to everybody that they don't think is up to their level and all that kind of stuff, and abusing their own family, with Richard E. Grant character. But at its core, it's a kind of a pulp crime thriller in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's the thing that kind of shined through for me, is that when all was said and done, all the characters actually had petty motives. And it ended up being more of a noiry, twisty kind of who will backstab the other person the most effectively when it's all said and done. That's kind of what it ended up being for me. And I kind of enjoyed that aspect of it a lot. Once I kind of sunk into that, I enjoyed that a lot.
I did get a lot of that towards the end, because the end definitely, now that I think of it, the end definitely gets that noir thing. I kind of wish the whole movie was the end. Like the end was the beginning of the movie, and then it went back and tried to piece together what led there, which I guess is exactly what the movie did. You're just watching it. You just don't know what the end is yet until it gets there.
See, I kind of felt that it was doing that all the way along. And I don't know if that's just maybe because I kind of tapped into its vibe and it worked for me in that way more than it did for you. Because things like this, for example, so you've got the basic setup, right? You have this guy being brought in to essentially to tutor their kid, to make him to get into the, Oxford and just be as successful as possible, and to make sure he succeeds. And, this young guy is going to stay at their house and to be the tutor for the whole time. But, very quickly, he has his room where he's writing, and he's immediately trying to compete. Like, he's looking across the way at the window, and he can see the old man writing, who he idolizes, and he's seeing that the old man's writing all night, and he has to keep trying to write all night too, and he can't keep up with him, and the young guy falls asleep. And then, a few nights later, he's looking across the way, and he sees the old man going down and servicing the older Julie Delpy, Julia, and you're like,
giving her 6.9 stars.
Yeah. And you're like, at first you're like, okay, he's kind of voyeuristic, and he's kind of watching this, and he's kind of trying to imagine himself as part of their life and being that sort of a successful, upper crust writer type. But then, obviously she looks over at him and lets him know that she's watching him watch. And I'm like, okay, this is getting really pulpy now. So I think there's a lot of little things like that let me know this is kind of going to be pulpy. And, in the fact that he has like basically a murder board up in his room, the young guy, where he's basically writing down all the things that's happening around this house when he's watching these people. I suspect I like this a fair amount. I didn't love it, but I liked it quite a bit. I enjoyed it. I suspect, and this will be just a fun little game, I think Greg might love this movie.
I could see that happening. Greg,
for the reasons I'm talking about.
Greg, what do you think? I don't know if he's still off camera or not, but
anyway, I kind of hijacked you. You could talk some more on that, but
no, this definitely feels like a Greg movie. And I did kind of like as the movie went along, like early on, I was like, oh man, I cannot do this. This is not my movie at all. But as it went along, and my mind started kind of, the hamster in my head started running around on its wheel, started kind of getting ideas about it, and I started liking it a lot more. And I really liked the ending a lot. It was not quite I don't know. I don't really want to say much about the ending because it's not out yet. But it kind of went in directions I wasn't expecting, but it didn't come out of left field. It's like the ending that after you watch it, go, yes, that's the only ending it could possibly be. But it's not. It's not obvious. Like when it happens.
And I think that's the stuff that either will lose people or pull people in a bit more. Like I could see some people going like, oh man, this is going to go this way. The people that want it to be just the literary art house discussion of class and stuff are going to probably not like the somewhat pulpier ending, which I enjoyed it a lot too.
Yeah.
There is one thing, and I won't talk about it because it would be spoilers, but if we do a spoiler section with Greg later, which we might, there's one other possible twist that I thought was going to come in the end that did not come in the end. And I'd be really curious to hear if that twist would make any sense to you and if you would like that twist or if I'm just crazy. Anyway, we'll leave that as a teaser if we end up doing it. If we don't, it'll be lost in the cosmos.
That works for me. I guess what we giving it, or what are you giving it?
I think I come down at 4 stars on this one for a little different reason than you. It didn't quite go all the way to 4.5 or 5, but I really had a pretty darn good time watching this movie overall.
Yeah, I'll probably go 3.5 on this. It's just not my kind of movie, but it's that extra 0.5 is the ending where we kind of, as the movie went along, it kind of kicked up a notch. And who knows, maybe after we started talking about this more in spoilers, it'll kind of give me a better appreciation of, because I don't know Tolstoy, Bruce, and I can't watch The Lesson correctly.
Well, and it like upped the stakes, which I think is something you probably responded to. Like, you know, where the stakes are just like, is he going to write the great American novel kind of a thing? And it's just like,
Well, early on when he was given he's this big renowned author, and he's like, the greatest authors steal. Like he just came up with it. And it's like, dude, that's writing 101. Everyone knows that thing. And it's, what, I mean, it's still plagiarism. And actually they do address plagiarism in this. Mm-hmm. Plagiarism and ghostwriting. And so, this would be, we should definitely talk about this more with Greg at some point. But 3.5, I think. And also and maybe you can speak to this, I got a Bergman Island feel about this very early on. And that part of the reason why what pushed me away from it is this, because you and Greg both like Bergman Island. I hated Bergman Island. Does this match anywhere along with that for you?
I could see if it So if it were Bergman Island, it would have just stayed the first half hour of the whole movie. Basically, I think that's what would have happened, because it wouldn't have gone to these kind of places. So yeah, I can see how. Yeah, no, I wouldn't say it's not the same as Bergman Island all the way through, but the beginning part, I can kind of definitely get that. Yeah. Where it's all about art and the artist, and it's very like slow paced and kind of just sitting in the world. Yeah.
Early on, this was all Bergman Island for me, and I'm like, I'm not liking this. But the lesson learned was stick with it, because the ending is pretty fantastic in this. So the last but not least of our features anyway, is Biosphere. In the not too distant future, Billy, played by Mark Duplass, and Ray, played by the great Sterling K. Brown. Has Sterling K. Brown ever not been awesome? The answer is
not
no.
That I know of. Oh, sorry, is that a rhetorical question?
It could have been either one. But Billy and Ray are lifelong best friends, brothers from another mother. They also happen to be the last 2 men on Earth. You know what? I'm just going to stop there. How far into this do you want to go?
See, that's the question I had the minute something happened in this movie. I really had a question about how much we should give away. I don't think we should give away the early twist. I don't think we should, because that is such a nice and fun surprise when that happens.
It is, but also that, and anyone listening, I apologize that we're being so annoying about this, but this is kind of one of the weird things about like reviewing a movie that's not out yet. Like, you want to give people that chance to discover the movie the way we did.
Yeah.
I had no idea what Biosphere was. It was like, is this Biodome 2? I don't know.
Same.
I have no idea. By the way, not at all. But there's so many things, and what happens after that early twist is actually entirely what this movie is about.
That's true.
So you kind of got to talk about it, but at the same time, I don't want to.
So let's do this. Let's talk about what there is to like about the style and the presentation first, and then we'll say, hey, heads up, we're going to talk about something that pretty major that happens in the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and then the movie is really about it, so it doesn't really spoil the movie, but it definitely will give you some information. So first thing I would say is, with a movie like this, it's like a COVID movie probably, because it's two people in an isolated place. To me, this is definitely, there's a lot of fish. Well, some fish, then more fish in a, enclosed space. This is basically a biodome after the apocalypse of some sort. We don't know what. You can't even see out the windows. It's just like black. But I think what you'll either like or not like about this is that right out of the gate is the banter and the like energy with these two guys. And I think that's the thing that could have killed this movie if you did not have a great energy and camaraderie and chemistry between Mark Duplass and Sterling K. Brown. They just immediately like bounced off the screen, and I was like, okay, I just want to listen to these guys and watch these guys because they're fun to be in the world with.
Yeah, I got the same chemistry between them, which comes in later. It's one of those movies that kind of live and die on the when you have a movie that's just set in one location the entire time, and you only have two characters. Like, if you don't like those two characters, you don't have a movie. Not that the characters have to be like, well, all that stuff, but like they have to be engaging enough that, yes, I want to see what these two characters do throughout the rest of, the remainder of the story. And they bounce off each other well. It's funny and not getting into what happens later, but it gets really really dramatic. This is like a really good mix of drama and comedy. I think it's got a little bit of everything. And mystery beyond this part that we haven't talked about yet. I suppose I can talk about this. There's a little green light that they see. Mm-hmm. And every time they look out the window, the little green light gets bigger and bigger. And you don't find out what it is till the very end. But like just them constantly going back to that green light, like, what is that? What? Like,
yeah. And we don't know either. Like, we're not let in. We're just like, is it a comet? Is it I don't know.
Yeah. But their relationship is really sweet, makes you think a lot, and it's funny a lot of times. And this is also a really good example of they get to the point pretty much right away, like we're not doing.
Yes, so we should probably get to the point now, right? Like,
all right. So, but real quick, I would just right away, I just want to give this movie 5 stars because I really kind of love where it goes. I love what it says, and it's very entertaining to watch. Mark Duplass and Sterling K. Brown are great in it, and just that's all the surface level stuff, and then we'll get into more later. What are you thinking?
Yes, I'm 4.5 stars, so I'm really close to you. I thought that like I said before, I think their chemistry is amazing. I liked kind of where it went. Ooh, look, Mr. McFeely's here. Hey, Mr. McFeely, what are you bringing us?
We got another fish.
We have a third fish. He's trying to talk to us. We can't hear him. He thinks we can hear him. He might have turned off his microphone.
No, he's on mute.
I'm back. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We just went over Biosphere. We didn't go over the early twist. Just kind of giving general thoughts, and we're giving our rating before we get into until you figure out what their relationship is. But what were you thinking of Biosphere?
I think the big twist for Biosphere is it's actually a good movie. Is it or is that a twist?
It's not a twist. Is that
not a twist? The Biosphere? Okay. Are you getting into the ratings right now for Did you get to the lesson already? You got to the lesson?
Yeah. We can go back to that. This is
no, we're not going to go back to that. I'm just so I'm just popping in right now, and you're going to final rating.
Just general thoughts before we get to what Mark Duplass and Sterling K. Brown's relationship is in Biosphere.
Okay. All right. How far are you guys from the spoiler for the lesson?
We can do it after Biosphere.
Are you guys almost done with the show?
No, we haven't got to the recommendations and stuff. No, we haven't.
Oh, okay. So you got like another 25 minutes, right?
Yeah, 20 something like that.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself and love you guys. I'll be right back.
See you, Mr. McFeely. Bring us some more mail. Thank you.
I'll see you guys. Okay, bye-bye. So, hey guys, I'm back. You guys gave your star rating. I have no idea what stars you gave it. Bruce, how many stars did you give this movie? Biosphere?
You have to listen to the episode to find out.
Okay. So I gave it 5. I gave it 5. What's the flow?
Oh, you know what?
I'm going to go to Google Docs.
I actually gave it 5 stars.
And I give it 4.5.
I give it 4.5 and stars. This was a missed opportunity. I changed my star rating 6.9 stars.
Okay, so that is Biosphere. We cut a whole bunch of stuff, and I think maybe we'll use it for the spoilers for our Patreon because we were instructed by the studios not to mention stuff, but it was covered. So I'll probably cut it off for our Patreon feed. So that's Biosphere. That is a rating of 4.5. Yeah, you're right, Bruce. Eric, you gave it 5. I'm giving it 2 stars. It just didn't work for me. Biosphere is a 2-star film. It was just it was a little bit too much of a misfire. It just a lot of talky stuff. There's some good stuff in it, and there might be accusations regarding about stuff. I can't talk about it. You know what? Actually, I'm not going to give it 2 stars. I'm going to give it 2.5 stars. Thank you, Eric Holmes. 2.5 stars. Like slowly, like I wouldn't really recommend it. it's interesting, but I wouldn't recommend it. And the final moments to me just didn't work. I definitely saw all that stuff coming, but it's just, can you believe, Bruce? Can you believe? And guys, this was my meanest mini review in forever.
I thought you
Biosphere,
gave every movie 4 stars. This is very strange.
Very strange. So that is Biosphere. I'm going to keep on letting you guys talk, and I'll be the third wheel. Keep on going. So what's next for you guys? Are you guys done?
We got that. If you want to talk about Dead Man's Hand, I mean, we got the time. If you got the bandwidth.
No, we're not going to talk about Dead Man's Hand. You guys. Oh my gosh, you didn't even get your recommendations yet. Did you get your recommendations?
Yeah, we're just about to get there now.
Okay,
you came just in time.
Okay, cool. That's Children of the Corn remake. Bruce Perky, streaming on Shudder. Your thoughts on it? What? Hold on, I'm gonna it's torpedo the show. What, Bruce? I can't hear you. Masterpiece. Thank you, Bruce. I know. Eric and I have been clamoring about how Eric, Children of the Corn remake, was it good? Do you like it? Whatever it was.
Yeah, I liked it. I think we talked earlier about the Tank. Mm-hmm. I kind of I like Children of the Corn a little bit more than the Tank, because Children of the Corn had a little more fun to it. I can't remember what star rating I gave it, but I'd probably be on the same level as the Tank, I think. But curious what Bruce thinks of it.
I'm not curious. I really love Children of the Corn. It started one of our favorites. Who was that? Elena Caporas, and I'm glad you liked it, Bruce. So next up is, I'm kidding, Children of the Corn remake. Bruce, what do you think of it?
It's a rewind, so I'm not going to go into all depths of it. Well, it's definitely one of the more ludicrous scripts I've encountered for a long, long time. And there's some really, there's a lot, there's a lot of bad stuff in here. But that's in my opinion. But I enjoyed it. This is one of those. It's one of those that almost would do like a 1-star banger for me. And it's hard for me to define what a 1-star banger is. But like the Running in the Woods for the Naomi Watts one was a 1-star banger for me. This is similar to 1-star banger. It's a terrible story, very poorly written, horrible CGI, crazy idea for a monster, ridiculous scenes with the with the town hall where all the kids come in. We haven't voted yet, and then and then all the adults laugh at them like overly heartily, and then but this movie, I don't think, is trying to be cheesy. I think this is a very sincere movie, and it's sincerely amazing and hilarious by the way that it actually does things. You might think it is supposed to be cheesy, and that's great if it is. I didn't see its tongue in its cheek very much in this movie, but I actually had quite a bit of fun watching this, and it was really enjoyable to watch. It was good.
I can actually
Naomi
tell
Watts
you
movie is The Desperate Hour. Sorry, Eric Holmes. The Desperate Hour. Yeah.
I can tell you because I did talk to Kurt Wimmer about this movie, and he definitely approached this with not really tongue in cheek, but like they were having fun with it, and that's kind of the movie they were trying to make.
And I do sense that too. It's like it isn't almost not it doesn't seem quite self-aware enough to like fully pull that off, but I don't have any special love or reverence to the Children of the Corn series. So for me, I mean, I had a pretty fun time watching it. So I'm going to probably say 3 stars.
Okay, 3 stars. I love that. I love that you actually giving it a mild recommend. 3 stars. I feel like such a horrible person for my 2.5 stars for Biosphere.
You should.
That just didn't even make sense. But
that's okay. You can listen to our conversation, and we'll just judge you from afar.
The reason why I did
arms crossed.
I was ready for
explain yourself, young man.
I was ready for that. It was my opening salvo because I was expecting some really bad ratings for Children of the Corn, so I struck back. Because
if anyone that listens to this show knows what we're all about is if you don't agree with us, then we will hate you.
Okay, yes, we will definitely hate you. You know what, Bruce? I think you were actually asking for some CinemAddicts recommendations from our group members, but they're not here on our Google Doc. I'm sure they're not probably in a different doc. We'll just cut. Do you have it in your notes about like the recommendations from our CinemAddicts?
I would have to go back and look at the actual post because I do not have it in front of me. Maybe while we're talking, I can pull that up really quick.
No, it's okay. CinemAddicts members, Bruce Perky has forsaken you this episode. We will be back and we will get some of your recommendations for next week. You know what? The one thing, as far as please join our CinemAddicts Facebook group. there's a lot being a lot, pretty much a big kind of conversation about whether Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is a horrible movie or if it's a good movie. Our fellow podcaster and actually journalist, Debbie Lynn Lias, she said she loved it. There's a whole bunch of people who really enjoyed it. Cole Haddon, one of my good buddies, he was just defending that movie to the hilt. But then there are other people who just said, oh man, it really sucked. The CGI was horrible. So it's split down the middle as far as the lovers and the haters regarding Indiana Jones and the Dial of the Destiny. That was our big topic this week. So far this week on our CinemAddicts Facebook group. Eric, Bruce, any kind of topics you picked up on within last week over on?
I can pick up. I've got all their comments if you'd like to hear them.
Just pick up a couple of the smart ones, even
the smart ones.
On the Greg Srzavosty level ones. The one.
Well, now he's got to read all of them because otherwise someone will feel like a.
Joseph Bridges brought up what he watched in last week, and I saw his whole comment on it. So if you are in Cinematics, you need to go check it out because it sounds like an amazing movie, which I might have to check out myself. He suggests that. Last week, the movie he thought was most impressive was Electric Dragon, 80,000 volts.
Okay.
And it sounds like a crazy, crazy movie. And Mitch Burns, thank you, Mitch Burns, for helping us out. He recently saw, if you remember, we saw it too recently, The Abominable Dr. Phibes. And he quite loved it. And Peter Beta, who seems to be like
film classes.
Yes. You might hear his work here in just a moment. He seems to be really channeling his dad movie vibes lately. After they just recently reviewed the original Dirty Harry, but he suggests from 1996 Broken Arrow, which is his favorite John Woo movie so far.
Ain't it cool?
Oh,
is that where that came from? Ain't it cool?
I think so. Maybe John Travolta. I think John Travolta and Christian Slater were in a boxing scene in Broken Arrow. I remember watching it at a screening on the 20th Century Fox lot, hashtag name dropping again, but years ago. And I read the script. I really loved it. And then I saw the movie. I ended up being very disappointed with this John Woo film. Maybe I do need to probably see it once again. And maybe I have faith in not Matt Stillman. I have faith in Matt Stillman, but I have faith in Peter Beta and his review of Broken Arrow. Okay.
I wonder how many people forget that John Woo's an action director. Yeah, it sounds stupid for me to say that, but like people talk about the old John Woo Hong Kong movies, like the Killer and all that stuff. He's like, John Woo's this auteur and blah, blah, blah. So I think what people do is they get in their head that John Woo's like this elevated master of blah blah blah, and he's just a really good action director. It sounds like I'm crapping on the art form. I'm not, because I love action movies. I love Scott Adkins. But then when they watch like Mission Impossible 2, well, this isn't the elevated mastery of this is nothing like Citizen Kane. I was like, that's not what John Woo is. He's just a really good action director. Mission Impossible 2, really good action movie. Like you're trying to put too much into it than what should be there, I wonder.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I mean, I really love The Killer. I love a lot of his films, but yeah, he is a great, great action director. Now let us go to some. We're done. I think we're almost done with our recommendations. Are we done with our recommendations here, Bruce? Oh wait, there's Megan, the thing that dances, right? So
yeah,
you saw it, Bruce, on Peacock, right? Did you see it on Peacock or something?
No, it's on Amazon now.
Oh, it's on Amazon. Okay, so
if you have Amazon, you can now watch Megan. I had very low expectations with Megan. In fact, we kind of have a family tradition on Saturday nights. Let's watch a dumb, silly, weird, big budget movie, and that was out. And I mean, the kids watched it, and I would say for the first 2/3, Megan is a really pretty great, fun, self-aware kind of half satire on, AI and just the killer toy movies and all this stuff. And it has a great attitude and a whole lot of great fun in it. It isn't as gory as you would hope it maybe would be. And I think there's an unrated version. I don't think it changes it much. Even without the gore, I think it's a ton of fun. And the only thing that I have knock against it is the final... final act is a little bit by the books. It's kind of the battle between them it doesn't kind of come to the level that the rest of the movie had going for it. But it's a really fun character, really well played. I think, especially if you're a fan of the genre and Child's Play and all that kind of stuff, I think you would probably have a good time with Megan. It's surprisingly fun. For me, probably 3.5 stars. I mean, it doesn't like vault into that next level. But this is like, I say a movie goes down smooth. This is just like you're in the mood for junk food and you want the junk food to be as satisfying as junk food can be. This is kind of right there.
Did you
Okay,
see
so-
the first two Megans?
Yeah, I did. They weren't quite as good as Mithrigan, but Mithrigan is great.
It's funny.
And
It's funny.
it's great. Like in the first 5 minutes, they reveal why it's called Mithrigan. So they get that they get that out of the books.
So it's
Right.
like Leonard Part 6,
That's funny.
Yeah, it's almost as good as that.
minus Serapis, obviously. But
Oh, of course.
anyway,
Yeah. So
So-
Bill Cosby is not a listener to Cinematics, unfortunately. So before we get to Peter Beta and dropping that beat and whatnot, and me continuing to submarine and torpedo this program, I apologize, guys, for that. The Lesson. I'm giving that 4.5 stars. Eric Holmes, you can put that down. 4.5 stars for The Lesson. I just thought it was a taut, well executed thriller, very character drama driven. I love the pacing of the film. The reason why it doesn't get the 0.5, the 5-star banger, is I saw the ending coming a mile away. That's not too much of a big ding, but I wanted a little bit more of an explosive type of ending. There are explosive moments, but the final note was a little bit too obvious for me. But that's just a minor thing, minor quibble. But I
Ooh.
loved everything about it. I really loved everything about.
We are going to do a quick
The Lesson.
spoiler on it, right?
Yes, and we are going to do a quick spoiler on it exclusively for our Cinematics Patreon listeners. Right now, everything that we do on Cinematics for our spoilers, with the talent and the actors, and amongst the podcast talent, I just call this talent me, Bruce, and Eric. It's going to be walled
Speak
off
for yourself, Greg.
Yes, I'm gonna speak for Eric and Bruce. They always call themselves the talent, and I'm not supposed to look at them straight in the eye. That's why I'm going sideways on this here. But
every
no,
time I walk in a room, people are like, "It stinks like talent in here."
exactly. So right now, as our Patreon is still surviving for $5 a month, if you want some really good archival spoiler material, go to our Cinematics Patreon as of now. So hopefully this will be a long time. This is a new chapter. Me, Bruce, and Eric are carrying on the Anderson mantle for Patreon. And what a way to start with that first pick with Notting Hill. Hopefully our second pick will be a good vote. I'm not bagging. Bagging is something that Gen X people used to use back in the 80s. I'm not bagging on Bruce Perky and his pick on Notting Hill, but I love it so much. I was just a little bit too I was surprised. I was taken aback. So it's weird. It's weird. It's kind of like me actually having scruples when I review a movie. It doesn't happen. So it's weird. It's weird with the whole thing. But not yes, Eric Holmes.
And speaking of movies that came out in 1999,
Yes. Oh, scruples? What?
no, Pete.
Oh, Pete, rock that 1990 party and rock that beat like it's 1999.
Remove your hand from the box, and you die.
What's in the box?
Pain.
Okay, I'm gonna leave now. It's Mr. Death and the Fall of Fred A. Loiter. I'm gonna take a break. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead. Bruce, I said I wanted you to kick the can one more week so I could see it with you. Unfortunately, Eric actually knows my human nature, that I don't see movies with anybody, or I don't see movies, period. So Eric thankfully joined you on Mr. Death, the Rise and Fall of Fred A. Loiter. What can both of you guys tell our listeners about this documentary?
Well, this is a documentary by Errol Morris, and I think I'm curious for younger viewers of documentaries how Errol Morris documentaries play, because at the time they were quite unusual. This where they would have this kind of combination of the normal things like the talking heads and archival footage, but they would also include reenactments and all these other things. And he kind of burst out of the box with, I think, Thin Blue Line, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
I think now they might play as a little more like conventional. I think this is kind of the way that things are just generally done, from everything from TV to this. Anyway, this is about, as we said, Fred A. Loiter Jr. Why is he Mr. Death? Well, very quickly, we discover that he is responsible for, oh boy, this guy is a piece of work. He's responsible for, quote, improving the murder machines, the execution machines for various states. And he starts out by making sure that the electric chairs produce an effectively lethal dose in a humane way. Once again, quote. I see Eric might be on board with me with this. And, you could think immediately of, like, if you've seen The Green Mile. Green Mile is the great way to think about how terrible electrocution by electric chair can be, especially if it's done even slightly wrong, how it can just basically cook a person, and it's horrible. And Leuchter kind of presents himself as this humanitarian. He doesn't want to have this kind of stuff happening at all, but since it's going to happen, he's going to make sure it's the best. And once he becomes kind of the quote expert on, upgrading and making effective electric chairs, they bring him in for all kinds of things. Hey, make a great lethal injection machine for us. Make a great a gallows that always works the best. And so you kind of follow through all those things. Should we say what happens next, Eric? What's the next chapter?
But before we do,
is?
let me I get his point of view on the electric chair.
I feel you're going to be similar to me on this. Go.
Yeah. So the electric chair, I get his point. They have the death penalty. They have an electric chair. This electric chair is it's a family show. Electric chair is no good, and it's whatever you think of the death penalty, I don't personally like it, but whatever you think of it, that's not a humane way to go. And so he wanted to, as you said, he wanted to make it, if we're going to do this, let's do it. Then again, that's like saying, you know what? The racism machine just isn't working to my standards. I want to make a better racist machine. Well, how about no racist machine? That's probably a better way to go about it.
Funny that you bring up racist machine.
Yeah, that's a segue into what else he's known for.
You're gonna segue. I'm gonna actually have to go in a second. Okay, so I'll be right back, guys. Keep on talking about death. Okay,
that's what he always says to us every week. Keep talking about death. So he gets basically this kind of weird sub notoriety as this guy, and then this Holocaust denier who is on trial in Canada decides, well, who else would be better to employ to prove that the Holocaust didn't happen and that there was no Jews that were ever killed in gas chambers. Definitely couldn't have happened the way they said. That was totally a lie. Hey, Mr. Leichter, go fly off to Auschwitz, or was it Auschwitz? I think it was Auschwitz he went to. Go fly off and do your quote scientific study. I had a lot of quotes in this thing, and prove that it didn't happen, so I get off of this trial. And thus the rise and fall of Fred A. Leuchter Jr. Boy, this guy is a piece of work. I don't know, man.
So his scientific method was to go to these places. The weird thing is that doesn't prove whether the Holocaust happened or not. Right. All that proves is that there wasn't cyanide in the center of so he's taking samples out of these gas chambers
illegally.
Yeah. And they're, well, legally, illegally, as long as you find the truth, I'm cool with it, whatever. But that's not what they do. He takes samples out of the bricks and gives them to scientists to find. Actually, if I saw that correctly, they didn't tell them what they were looking for. The scientists were like,
problem, because then they ended up.
I guess we'll look at it. Cool. No cyanide, says it right here. And then one of the scientists was like, okay, see, you didn't say that. If you told us we were looking for cyanide, we wouldn't have crushed them and looked in the center of the thing, because cyanide is not going to penetrate that far. It's going to be on the surface, and we don't know where the surface is because we don't know where you took this from. We need it'd be like me handing you a stack of papers and go, hey, Bruce, go. And then you're going to look at this stack of papers, go, what? And and I'm already gone. And then I come back and go, so Bruce, what'd you find? I'm like, well, I read this one thing and it's about like pipes, I guess. I don't know. Oh, you didn't find anything about elephants? Nope. I knew it. And then I leave. And you're like, what was that all about? That's kind of the scientific method here, which is really dumb. And a lot of the stuff that this Fred A. Leuchter guy, this is the weird part about this guy with the electric chair. I get why he's doing that. With the Holocaust denying stuff, I get why he's doing that. He wants to go in. It's like, well, if that's what they think, we're going to go and prove them wrong. And this is. But the thing is, his methods of doing things are boneheaded and backwards and mostly stupid.
Yes.
And we've talked about this in other forums. Being stupid isn't inherently wrong. People are stupid about a lot of things, but certain things, if you're stupid about it and you go about it wrong, it has real world effects on people and really hurts people and really hurts society. The idea that, we did a bad science experiment, couldn't find what we were looking for, therefore the Holocaust didn't happen. There's video, dude. There's bones, there's graves, there's mass graves. There's more than just your stupid misplaced science experiment. Like, yeah, this is a great documentary.
It's pretty good. The only thing that this documentary didn't do, so I don't know, we'll rate it here in a second, but the only thing this documentary didn't do for me was it didn't do that extra step, which the extra step should have been like, why did you employ this guy? I wanted to see them talk to the people who were all around this guy and giving him the power, because part of the problem was this stupid guy, like you talk about, he is stupid, and he's given power in this weird arena, the kind of a life or death arena, and people are giving him that power. So that's part of the story that isn't really dealt with too much, but it's still a really interesting documentary about this guy.
They kind of did, though, because, at least the way he described it is, we need an expert in, and this is actually one of the few things he wasn't stupid about. I think he was bang on about this, was the reason they came to him is like, they want me to build a lethal injection machine because I built the electric chair. Well, that's stupid because I understand the electricity and how that works. So I can build an electric chair. Just because I can build that method of destruction doesn't necessarily mean I can build another one. But who else are going to go to? Because I'm the guy. You know,
right.
Like, and so, and that also really illustrates the, the fallacy appeal to
authority.
Yeah. Appeal to authority. You can't always appeal to authority because how do you know you got the authority?
Yep.
In this case, they didn't. They thought they did because, you deal with death, gas chamber in Auschwitz. That's a death. That's an execution. So you should be an expert in that. No, he's not. And it just damn well proves that, watching his methods on trying to figure it out. Now, I think his heart was in the right place. Like, I don't think he set out to be a Holocaust denier, but again, just it's a mess. The guys, and also at the same time, it also delves into freedom of speech, which I do agree with their take on that, because you shouldn't have to go to prison because you said a thing. Sometimes I'd like that to happen, but I think, if you're the trouble with that is if you say the wrong thing, you go to prison. Okay, we agree with that. Holocaust denying, that's the wrong thing. If you say the wrong thing, you go to prison. What happens when someone is in charge that doesn't agree with you?
Yeah,
and you get put in prison for saying the Holocaust did happen. So it's best just to kind of just blanket freedom of speech. But yeah, this was a fantastic documentary.
Okay, so that is Mr. Death: The Rise and Fall of Fred A. Leuchter Jr. Where did you guys see it? What's the streaming options?
AMC Plus.
AMC Plus. That's where you guys saw it. Okay, AMC Plus. What did you give it, Eric? Did you already say what your rating is on that?
I already put in 5 stars. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Okay, pretty obvious. Bruce, what's your rating?
I'm a little lower. I'm 4 stars, but either way, this is a pretty interesting and cool documentary.
Okay, so that is the box pick, Mr. Death: The Rise and Fall of Fred A. Leuchter Jr. You can see it on streaming on AMC Plus. Wow, Eric 5 stars and Bruce 4 stars. That wraps it up. But before we go, we're gonna have to shake that box one more time to see if I'm actually gonna join Eric and Bruce for next week's box pick. It depends. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
How do I feel?
Biosphere.
Box.
Biosphere again.
Biosphere again.
Biosphere. I still
somehow I put it in the past into the future.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never seen this movie. It is Beasts of the Southern Wild from 2012.
Beasts of the who did it? Was it just someone else? You didn't write it down?
Don't know
Beasts
who did this. This might have just been one I added. Sometimes I just add one. So
okay. Beasts of the Southern Wild is the movie that Bruce and Eric and possibly me, I would not trust my attendance record on these box picks, but Beast of the Southern Wild is our box pick for next week. Thank you, Bruce, and of course Eric, for watching these movies. And I can say I saw it years ago, but I still haven't seen it. I still haven't seen that movie. I've heard so many good things about that. So okay, that's it. Before we go, we'll just remember the lesson spoiler discussion. We're going to be talking about that in a second for our CinemAddicts Patreon, CinemAddicts Plus on our Apple Podcasts, CinemAddicts Patreon, $5 a month gets you the spoiler stuff. And I do sound like an ad pitchman. Anything before I go, Eric Holmes?
Yes, a couple things. Next week, we'll be talking about the documentary Lakota Nation versus the United States. I may or may not be as excited about that as I was about Mr. Death. We will talk about that next week. But it is coming out in theaters July 14th, and you can go to their website, lakotanationvs.movie. That's LAKOTANATIONVSUS.movie. And also, we will be talking about the movie The Flood, and I got interviews with Brandon Slagle and the director of The Flood, and actors Louis Mandylor and Nikki Whalen. And I'm actually interviewing Louis Mandylor tomorrow and Nikki Whalen on Monday. And I already interviewed Brandon Slagle, and those will be on the CinemAddicts or Find Your Film somewhere sometime soon.
Very good. Very good work, Eric, on these interviews. Final thoughts from Bruce Berkey.
I would just say, if you haven't listened to the episode of Middle Class Film Class trivia contest that Eric is on, you need to listen to that right away. Well, no, after you listen to our episode, then go listen to that. But you're at the end of it right now, right? So you're ready now.
Okay, very good. We will see you next week. I apologize, guys, for just coming in and out of this. So like a out of hell. So I apologize. CinemAddicts episode 197. Thank you, Eric Holmes. Thank you, Bruce Berkey, for actually coming during this episode and doing a really, really good job. But I don't know about the Biosphere, wonderful ratings you gave it, but you guys are very logical human beings.
It was a 5-star banger after the
5-star banger.
6.9 star banger at the
Oh boy, Eric Holmes loves it. Eric Holmes loves it. So maybe listen to Eric Holmes. We'll see you guys here next week on CinemAddicts.